I am Aurelie with Hubli. Welcome to our one-to-one interview series. Today, I am joined by Chase Warrington, who is head of remote for Doist. I cannot wait to talk everything remote work, power of face-to-face, and power of offsites to foster company culture. Welcome, Chase.
Thank you. So good to see you again and to be here. I love the topic of conversation today. So thanks for having me.
Wonderful. We have already had a couple of chats in the past. I enjoyed every single of them. So
likewise. Cannot
wait to dig in.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Let's do this. First of all, before we get into the meaty parts, can you tell us a bit more about Doist? What is your organization? How do you operate? And what your specific role is?
Yeah, sure. So we're a software company. The name of the company, you said it correct, is Doist, often pronounced Doist, but it is Doist.
Okay.
And we're a productivity software company. So we have a couple different apps that we built. We're most well known for Todoist, which is a personal productivity tool. There's a version of it called Todoist Business, which is like a lightweight project management tool. And then we have a team communication tool called Twist, which was built specifically for remote teams. And that's because we're a fully remote team of about 100 people in 35 different countries. And we created a product to solve a problem or scratch our own itch. And so that's why we created Twist. So we've got people spread around the globe and we work very hyper asynchronously, hyper remote first, and we just those aspects are baked into the DNA of the company.
So I was about to say we saw many companies experiencing a massive shift due to COVID, right? But this for you was different because this is your DNA, so you have this at core.
Yeah, exactly. We've been fully remote since day one for about 15 years now. So we didn't have to change much, fortunately for us, when the pandemic hit. Though it's been one of the silver linings of this whole situation it's been great to see so many teams embrace remote work, and with that, the global mobility and the flexibility in life and the location independence that it can bring. So many positive aspects for, on the individual level and on the society level. So yeah, it's not new to us, but it's great to see more and more companies embracing it.
I love that. I can already feel some strong aspects of the company culture with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And about your role in particular, head of remote. So this is a function that we start to see more and more. As well, accelerated probably over the past 2 years. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So it's a dream come true for me because I am a total remote work nerd and love what it brings. I mentioned before the global mobility and the location independence, and I myself am a foreigner living in Spain right now from the US, and I love to spend some time in different countries and travel a lot. And that's where it really all started for me in terms of loving remote work, but it's moved on to be so many more things. And so for me now, it's really about making sure that remote work is done really well at scale, so that it's sustainable and so that it becomes the new norm. And internally at Doist, that means really making sure that our remote infrastructure is operating at peak efficiency, the processes that make remote first work, the tools, the best practices, and a lot of that is looking external, looking at what other companies are doing.
Okay.
And taking in that information and saying, oh, look, this works at that company, we should try that here. And then also it's about advocating for the future of work, and making sure that this becomes the new normal, because like I said, it just has so many benefits and opportunities and wrapped up into it.
We like to say it's the new way we work, basically, because the future is already here.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. The future of work's outdated now.
Exactly. This is old news. And you said something. Your tagline says inspiring the workplace of the future. So can you elaborate on that? What is the workplace of the future?
Sure. Yeah. So for us, that means a workforce where people are not limited by the confines of an office or even invisible borders and lines that we've drawn around ourselves. the way that we've worked in the past has been very limiting. You showed up to a specific location, you had specific hours, and you had to abide by that. And I think the future of work for those of us that are really deep into this is all about breaking down those confines, giving people more control over their lives to work when it suits them best. That doesn't necessarily mean working a lot less or a lot more. It just means building your life first and then wrapping work into that, wherever it is that you may work from physically or when you want to work. And that last part is really important, because for us, we work, we think the future of work and the way that we work is very asynchronous by nature. So we do everything defaulting to asynchronous communication, which really enables this global team to keep functioning with people set in every single time zone around the world. And so for me, part of that future of work is a hyper asynchronous style of working.
I like that. And I'd love to come back to that, because we basically, what I hear is freedom.
Yeah.
In everything that you said, it's really the free yourself, have a better life, but also a better work life. And I guess we need to balance, though, because you operate fully remotely. You have over 100 people gathered in not even gathered, scattered
Yes.
in 30 plus countries. How do you balance face-to-face and async communication and operational, I would say, way of work?
Yeah, it's a great question, because it's not intuitive. It takes a high level of intentionality to make it work. Because if you just try to flip the switch and say, okay, we'll do everything we were doing in a co-located office environment, and let's just migrate that to a remote first where everybody lives around the world, and it'll all work really well. That won't work well. It'll be a horrible experience. The tools you use and the processes and the intentions of everybody have to change quite a bit. So I think that's important to recognize. And we're very, as I mentioned, very asynchronous by nature, but there's a place for synchronous communication for, for not just virtual meetings like we're doing now, that there's a place for that. And there's really a place for even getting together co-located and bringing each other to company retreats and offsites and things like this, which are vital to the long-term sustainability of remote teams, in my opinion.
And so I really like that. And how do you operate in that sense? Do you have, so you've mentioned retreats or offsites. Mm-hmm. Do you plan them on a regular basis?
We do. So at Doist, we have two forms of offsites. We have a company retreat once a year, which is a week-long event we hold in a particular place. This year coming up, we're getting ready to go in June to a small village in the Alps for a week in Austria. Nice. And so we'll be all there together for a week. And then we have what we call mini retreats, which also happen once a year. And those are individual teams getting together. So the marketing team goes to one place and the Android team goes to another, and so on. And that's also a week together physically in one place. So every year you have more or less, every 6 months you have a in real life or IRL event to look forward to.
That's nice. So this is how you balance, and how does that help, I would say, to foster your company culture? Because I mean, I understand you already have a very strong culture even without meeting face to face, but how does that help with the collaboration and basically the innovation? We always mention, in conversation, what about the water cooler or this aha moments? That is the huge debate. I see you smiling, so obviously you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I always crack up with the water cooler thing, because I go like, whatever happened at the water cooler? I don't know, but people are really obsessed with it. But yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, some chit chat. But I get it. And there's like I said, I'm a big believer. I mean, I'm more of an extroverted person. I'm more of somebody that really craves human interaction. And one of the things that I would miss with remote work without these sorts of things is that team camaraderie, that human connection aspect. So I don't go as far as to say this is like the glue that holds a remote team together. I'm going to try to make up an analogy here as we're talking, but it's more like it's what makes it work in, it's what's going to make it work sustainably over the long term. The product would be there, the service would keep functioning without these events, but it's what makes it something that we all enjoy every day and something that we want to keep doing day in and day out. And I think that's what's really important. The relationships that are built pay dividends over the months and years to come. And so that's why we invest heavily in these. They're expensive endeavors, and they take a lot of planning and logistics, as you know. But they're worth every penny and every second we put into them.
I was about to say, it really sounds like an investment that you make in the success of the company, but also in people. Because ultimately, it's the people that are responsible for the success of an organization, after all. So, maybe needless to say, but face-to-face does really then, I would say, trigger camaraderie and better, I would say, maybe a teamwork. Yeah,
totally. Okay. And it's also like important to remember, like, remote first doesn't mean remote only. Asynchronous first doesn't mean asynchronous only. There's a balance to strike here, and every company's gonna find themselves on different ends of the spectrum. But I think being somewhere in the middle and having some stance on, okay, we embrace async, we embrace remote first, but we also embrace that there's a place for human connection and fostering relationships and people connecting outside of things that are related to pure work. And so you can do that in real life, and you can do that virtually. You can do that synchronously and asynchronously. There's multiple ways to attack this challenge, but certainly in real life is a big piece of that.
So what I get from what you said, so if you operate 100% remotely, so you need to have the right processes in place, the right tools in place, the right management in place. And it's also not about replicating what you would typically find in an office online. You need to think a little bit differently and then have those face-to-face human interactions on a regular basis, those touch points, I would say, every year.
Yeah. I think that's very well put. And I would see those times together as not when you're focusing on tackling some major problem or bringing, you don't want to set those times aside for when quote unquote real work is going to happen. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think you set that time aside for connection, and there's two sides to that coin, because if you're setting work aside, I think you hear a lot of people say, okay, when we get together, we'll tackle that. And you say, well, we should be set up, we should be functioning so that we can tackle that remotely today. That's the way we do it the other 50 weeks in the year. And then therefore, what you can use that time for is what you can't do so well virtually, which is the human connection aspect. And
I love that.
That will pay over time. Yeah. That's
nice. Quality time and not necessarily heavy problem solving sessions. Well, there are benefits as well in getting some groundwork and very strategic work done. But
I told you I'm a remote work nerd, and this is my nerdiness shining through. I have like a formula that I apply to these things, and it's like 50, 30, 20. Should be like 50% mainly like free time and relaxing, 30% coordinated activities, mostly like fun stuff, and then 20% work. So you get that professional aspect, but it's not the other way around. It's not 50% work. And I think that's a nice balance that works well for me.
I would love to be able to quantify the quality of work that you get out of that formula. You know, it's only 20%, but in terms of results and achievements, that must be like skyrocketing.
Yes,
statistics, probably.
There's a hockey stick there. You can measure it. It's very much so possible and pretty tangible. And I think the important thing is to remember, it's not so much about what happens during that the 20% of time that you spend right then and there. It's how that plays out over the coming months. You know, I see those touch points as like this is the time to bring the team together, to put our minds together on something and realign on our core values and such, and then see how that plays out over the coming months. And so that's been a great way for me to refocus the way we approach in real life events.
That's fascinating. It's still work in progress as well for everyone. Because there's not one magic formula. That's wonderful. And to end this quick chat, Chase, can you share what has been your biggest challenge in arranging those offsites or mini retreats, and what's your recommendation for anyone navigating this right now?
The quick and true answer is COVID has been my biggest problem. But setting that aside, hopefully for the future, it's creating that proper balance between making sure that the event is professionally engaging and worthwhile for those who aren't here for the company happy hours and get-togethers and stuff like that. They're here to work and want to make sure that they're getting something, professionally useful out of this. And then also making sure that it doesn't become a hackathon for 5 days where we're all just grinding it out and not recharging and reconnecting. So that's, we're individuals, we're humans, we have different opinions on things, and trying to strike that balance for a group of 100 is a bit challenging.
Love that. So inclusivity, that's it. I'm losing my English. And connection.
Yeah. And optionality and giving people options is key as well. I think that's making sure that people have the option to attend or not attend, but then also, within the event, activities and things so people can disconnect and recharge when needed and show up, when needed elsewhere. So, these are some of the elements I'm focused on.
Super interesting. I think that would deserve even a second chat in like 6 months of time to hear about your learnings. I'd be super curious.
I'd be happy to. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for your time, Chase. Thank you for joining our one-to-one interview series. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get more insights on how the new way we work is impacting business travel and meetings. Until next time.